From LALATE headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Afternoons LALATE.
It's a big afternoon of Afternoons LALATE, direct from Santa Monica, California today, with the big financial news that impacts your wallet and your Four Stimulus check update of 2022. Going into the afternoon, Brent crude is surging up and your stocks as well. But the great news is that a Four Stimulus check is now in every U.S. state. We'll go over that incredible check and how you get it, but first I need you to become a member. Go to the top of the chat and become a member. Get that incredible newsletter Monday through Friday, because in that newsletter is that Four Stimulus check in every U.S. state. Brent is up $3.82 right now to $111 a barrel. That's very high for gasoline. The Dow Jones surging up 1% or $215 up. NASDAQ up $300 right now, or 3%. And the 10-year bond pulling back at $294. What does this mean for your big money? Well, in addition to the Four Stimulus check now in every U.S. state, Congress is trying to give you additional checks in view of the looming economic data that is continually not good. All the latest data that came out for the Federal Reserve today, the latest detail that came out this week, the CPI and the PPI, and the unemployment numbers that came out yesterday as well. Then we'll be turning to that student loan debt forgiveness. More debt can be forgiven. And then we'll be looking at why the erosion of so many financial markets, including crypto today and this week, signals that there's something wrong, and that something wrong is being grasped and understood by every American. That is why Build Back Better Act is likely to get done, and that is why more checks are likely to come to you very quickly. But likely is one thing, reality is another. And the reality today is that a Four Stimulus check is in every U.S. state. And over this incredible broadcast from the shores of Santa Monica, California, for May 13th, 2022, we will go over how for you to get those incredible checks. Get your pen and paper ready, because the money is available and the situation looming on the horizon is not particularly good. We'll explain what's happening, where are we going as an economy, and why more money would come, but that you need to grab this money right now because a recession is just months away. It's a big day. It's a big broadcast. It's Afternoons for May 13th, 2022, starting right now. Good afternoon. I hope you're having a beautiful day. A brand new week upon us coming up, and very exciting news for May 13th, 2022. It's Friday the 13th. Don't get scared, because there is a Four Stimulus check in every U.S. state, and nothing to be scared about it. I'm going to show you how to get it in today's incredible recording. Go to the top of the chat, become a member, get that newsletter Monday through Friday. In that newsletter, I go over how to get that incredible cluster of checks. There's a lot of checks in every U.S. state. And in this recording, we're going to go over the other checks that are proposed, but these are actually law. They have landed. Viewers have got it by direct deposit. They are in their bank accounts. They're in their hands. It's your opportunity today to get those checks as well. Yes, you have to do something to get them. And these are massive, massive checks, as much as $80,000. It's coming up in just a second. See, at the very end of this video, we got a lot of money coming up for you across the board. As we go into a new week, we had a very tumultuous week, but it's far from over. At the time of this recording, the Dow Jones is up $215, up 1%. NASDAQ up $319, or 3%. 10-year Treasury note down to 294 percentage point, $2.94, and 2.9%. And then when you look at the Brent crude, the price of gasoline really inching up quickly in the last 3 days. If you watch that membership newsletter, I think it was on Wednesday, it was 108. Today it's already at 111, and it's only halfway through the day. Meantime, if you look over crypto, that really took a bath this week, and crypto's coming back to this channel. If you've not heard, our big show is going to put us back on the map. You're going to love it. Bitcoin is up 3% right today, 29,000. That's not good. Ethereum up 3%, 2,000, and Decentraland up 34% right today. Whoa. Now let's go to the incredible news across the board. The President of the United States has indicated to his staffers, get that Build Back Better Act done. That would give you additional checks. What's important to understand is the nomenclature or the naming system. Fourth stimulus has a lot of different things under its umbrella. It is Build Back Better Act when checks come from Congress. It is checks that the president sends out. Those are law. They're coming up later in this video. And there are fourth stimulus checks when the states send you checks. That's coming up later in this video. But when we talk about the congressional fourth stimulus checks, those are proposed for now for a vote around Memorial Day weekend or before that. Now, one of the things I want to go over when we're talking about the vote of the Build Back Better Act is the dynamic of those Democrats. Remember, we've always had an issue about do they have enough votes for the Build Back Better Act. And one of the things that I think we're good as a family at doing, Purple Power family, is analyzing the dynamic of the voting in that Democratic caucus at the time that they're trying to work on Build Back Better Act. What is the breaking news on that today? This is really fascinating, and you're going to only hear this really here on LALATE. Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin are going at their necks against each other on not stimulus, but Roe versus Wade. And this is signaling that Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin are not on board with other things. First, let me explain what's going on for Roe versus Wade. There's an effort by the Democrats to get a congressional bill done that legalizes abortion, and Joe Manchin wants it written exactly the way Wade was written. I would vote for the codification of Roe versus Wade because we had it 50 years of precedent, said Manchin in a press statement. But then Kyrsten Sinema came right back and said, no, that is not how we do it. Also, Kristen Gillibrand says we have a different point of view of how we need to codify this. You notice that they're really not agreeing upon simple things. No less than 3 days ago, Kyrsten Sinema said much the same thing about Joe Manchin when looking to Build Back Better Act. She says, I will not support any raising of the corporate tax minimum. And Joe Manchin keeps on saying, I want to raise those corporate taxes to Build Back Better Act. If you can't agree upon the pay-fors for the Build Back Better Act, then you have issues. Well, the good news for you is that there is a fourth stimulus check in every U.S. state. And despite what happens with Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, that money is still there, and I'm going to show you how to get it. It's later in this video. Build Back Better Act will give you a lot of money, $15,000 to $80,000, 3 clusters of checks, 3 add-ons of checks, lots of money across the board. And the incredible sums of money includes people of all walks of life, single, married, without children, with children, elderly, young, old. That's why people like Build Back Better Act. But what is taking an effort, and I think we've achieved it as a channel, as a family here, the Purple Power, Purple Hawk family, is that we have learned as a community that the fourth stimulus checks in every U.S. state today is ostensibly for everyone. The fourth stimulus checks now in every U.S. state are ostensibly for everyone. They're for people who are single, people who are older, people who are on benefits, people who are not on benefits, all different walks of life. And I think we've learned that over the last 2 weeks because I've been hitting the narrative very strong on this channel. We'll go over how to get those incredible checks in just a second. Going back, Build Back Better Act, why is this so important for the Democrats? If the Democrats do not pass Build Back Better Act by the midterms, then they're gone. It's pretty simple. They're the party in control, even though they don't have a clear majority in the Senate. They are the party in control. And if they don't get economic relief out, they're likely gone. Now, what about the Republicans? It's a harder analysis because the latest poll ratings show the electorate of Republicans and Democratic registered voters blame the president for the U.S. economy currently. Whether they are correct or not, they're blaming the president for the U.S. state of the economy. And they say he's not doing well. 70% disapproval of his office term in his performance in office. So what's important is that the Democrats need to get Build Back Better Act done, and if they don't, they're likely gone. And what's at issue is the credible checks in that Build Back Better Act. $15,000 to $80,000 of checks. Lots of money. Lots of great things across it. What is included in, of course, that Build Back Better Act? Let's take a walk down memory lane. Of course, there's a proposal to put MSCs in there. Then there is in that third cluster, free internet for all checks, farmers checks, independent contractors checks. We have in that second cluster paid leave, which is a lot of money. It's up to $5,000 to $6,000 a year. In that first cluster, we have that hazard pay for my essential workers. We have the elder care. We have the children's checks. In that first cluster alone, there's about $30,000 because the hazard pay is $1,500, the elder care is $4,000, the children is $3,600. There's the home repairs. There's the car, which is $12,500. There's a lot in that first cluster. Then we have the $250 billion free home health care for seniors and people on disabilities. And of course, the $25,000 for the purchase of your first home. That is what is in that Build Back Better Act that has about $15,000 of incredible, $15,000 to $80,000 of incredible checks in there across the board. With that potential vote slated for before Memorial Day weekend, we don't have a lot of clarity as to what provisions would sustain negotiations that are currently underway. But the good news is that big, massive forced stimulus checks are in every U.S. state right now. And later in this video, stay at the very end, I'm going to go over how to get those incredible checks. Now, Build Back Better Act is supported by bad economic news, and we have a lot of it. And also supported by bad economic news is SS 300. Joe Biden promised to swap your COLA for inflation, and I'm going to go over that in a second. And this is all teed up by one factor, the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve, which was sort of like an ancillary subject for many financial analysis less than maybe 7 months ago, now it is the front page #1 story every minute, every hour. Let's take a back step on over a memory lane. Last year, we had a decent amount of inflation, but not that much. And I said that inflation is going in 8% in December and was not going to be temporary. At the time, the Federal Reserve said it was going to go to 1% to 2% and be transitory. Fancy word to say temporary. I said it's not going to happen. At the time, not a lot of people were talking about the Federal Reserve. I gave that prediction about 8% inflation and consistent, saying it's going to stay consistent for months thereafter. Jeremy Siegel, that Wharton School of Business professor, said he thought it was going to be even higher than me. And then Wall Street had it really low. They had it 4%. What happened? No one was really talking about it. And then came the December number, 8% inflation. People woke up. Then they said, oh my goodness, it's 8% inflation. And then Jay Powell started doing this narrative, it's going to come down. We'll have it down very quickly. Don't worry, it's temporary. I said, no. I said 8% in January, 8% in February. I said, maybe it goes even higher. I got it right again. 8% inflation, February, March. And then by April, I said, I think it's going even higher. It did go hotter in March and April. And what happened this week? It sustained itself again. Now, let's understand how the situation has changed so dramatically from December 2021 to today. When I told you it was 8% inflation coming in December and sustained, people said, no, it's not. It's just going to be 1 month and we're going to be back to normal. I said, no, it's going to be 8% sustained. And they said, that's not good. Well, that's what's happened. Back in March, when Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine, I said that if the situation for gasoline does not come down, $4.24, $4.24, $4.14 unleaded nationwide average for gasoline is unsustainable into the month of May. We're heading to the month of June, and it's still at that level, actually higher. I said the price of bread is not sustainable. We're going into recession if it stays at level. Unsustainable. It's still there as well. So suddenly, all these people who were either a little bit too optimistic or ignoring the data from January to March suddenly got everything pulled out underneath their feet these last 3 weeks. It didn't just start this week. It started 3 weeks ago when Apple and Amazon reported corporate earnings, and they were very bad. They gave guidance for third quarter, which is later this year, that said, no, it's going to get really bad. And what do they blame? They blame the component parts that they get from China not being available in third quarter because of the subvariant of Omicron in China causing lockdown. And they also said that supply chain disruption is very pervasive. What is the breaking news right today on Afternoons about China? The breaking news is a new report suggests that China may come out of lockdown in less than about 2 weeks. Yes, the coming out of lockdown is much earlier than initially thought. People thought that China's lockdown was going to continue all the way into early July. It may end earlier. This is good for general inflation, for price of goods, for component parts, for corporate earnings. It's very bad for gasoline. Because why? They've not been driving their cars. When they come out of lockdown, they start driving their cars. And guess what? The price of gasoline is going to go up because there's going to be a shortage of gasoline once again. Today, the price of Brent crude is 111. And I got to tell you, since Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine, that is one of the highest numbers we've seen. I told you these numbers are not sustainable. 111 ain't sustainable, folks. And this is big trouble as we're not even coming out of, well, not us. China is not yet out of that lockdown, just a few weeks away. Brent crude up 382 just today, which brings us back to the Build Back Better Act. Build Back Better Act needs to get done because the situation is going to get worse very quickly. When you look at the economic data that came in the last 24 hours, in the last 3 days, it is all pervasive, it is not good, and it all signals this economy needs stimulus right away. Number one, the Producer Price Index number, the PPI released on Thursday. And what did it say? This number tracks how much manufacturers get for their products, and that number rose a half a percentage point from the month before, so it got higher. It rose 11% year to date. Excluding food and energy and trade services, it also rose compared to the month of March, up about a half a percentage point. Then, back on Wednesday this week, we had the CPI number, the Consumer Price Index number, which gauges how much consumer prices are for goods and services. That's what you buy in the marketplace. What happened with that number? That number staggeringly rose from March to April. It rose 8.3% year to date, but it also was relatively much the same number as the month of March. Then on Thursday, we had a big shocker. This was a big one. The unemployment numbers came in the month of Thursday, and boy, was this not good. It showed that new jobless claims toppled 203,000 for the week ending May 7,000 increase over the prior period, and it blew out estimates. That means a lot of new people went on unemployment for the first time in this last week. The data did not end there, as the gasoline index fell for April, but it's now surging as well today. And when we look at the price of gasoline, that is not good. Gas and groceries went up 1.7% year to date, according to the PPI data. But what did Jay Powell say late Thursday? This is what Jay Powell, your head of the Federal Reserve, said late Thursday. Remember, he last week raised interest rates a half basis point, as he said he was going to do in the May FOMC meeting. And before that May FOMC meeting, I say he's going to do 2 more half basis points thereafter. He confirmed that ostensibly during that luncheon on Thursday this week. This is what he said. He said that 2 more half basis point increases are highly likely. So a soft landing is really trying to get back to 2% inflation by the end of the year while keeping the labor market strong. And it's quite challenging to accomplish that right now for a couple of reasons. So it will be challenging, it won't be easy. No one's here thinks it's going to be easy. Nonetheless, we have to have pathways to get it forward and get along moving. Our goal, of course, is to get inflation back down to 2% without having the economy go into recession. And of course, with the labor market remaining fairly strong, that's what we're trying to achieve. I think that one thing we really cannot fail to resort to is price stability. Nothing in this economy works if the economy doesn't work for everybody without price stability. What he's referring to as price stability is inflation in control, and he has nothing in his tools to bring inflation under control. Right now, we see the price clearly, and we determined that the use of our tools is getting back to price stability. He actually says, our tools. Has he been watching me? Jay. I think he's been watching this channel because over the last 3 months, I've been saying that Jay Powell does not have the tools to get down inflation. I'm not alone. If you look back historically, the Federal Reserve has tried this over many decades. When inflation has hit this U.S. economy in prior decades, the Federal Reserve has done the same thing, raise interest rates. What are they trying to do? They're trying to curb your spending by curbing the cost of goods, bringing down the price of goods. Does it work? It does not work. Because the price of goods, the price inflation of the bread you buy, the potatoes you buy, the gasoline you buy, is not being caused by consumer sentiment or consumer demand. It's being caused by supply chain disruption. He knows it. He's not an idiot. He knows it. The supply chain disruption is driving up the price of goods and keeping them high. Raising interest rates ain't going to bring down the price of gasoline, ain't going to bring down the price of wheat or grain that is at a generational new high, which is caused by supply chain disruption, caused by Putin invading Ukraine, which is the bread belt of that entire area. You have a shortage of bread internationally or grain internationally, then it impacts us back at home as well. International price of grain. So what does that mean for you and your money? It means that Jay Powell is not going to get it right. And I think now that's what's going on. This last week we saw tech, NASDAQ, S&P, Dow Jones, crypto, housing, auto sales, GDP, unemployment. Should I go on? I think I've scared you enough. All those numbers came in horrible and continue to get worse. Where are we going? We're going to recession. Soft landing, not going to happen. Hard landing, happening. And the hard landing is not going to work. And that is why it's important to be on focus about the money that's available for you right now. If there's one thing that I've been very good at doing with you and this family and this channel over the last 2 years is giving you guidance of where this economy is going far before it's there, so you know how to prepare accordingly. Preparing accordingly means stocking on cash, grabbing the cash that's on the table, grabbing it and hoarding it. As Paul Judah Jones, a billionaire fund investor, said less than 4 days ago, this is a time for capital preservation. It's another way to call it saving your money. Why? It's going to get worse. And the data today is that while the Build Back Better Act is wonderful, while the midterm elections are right around the corner, while the Democrats need to do certain things for Build Back Better Act, while that SS 300 is absolutely incredible and needs to be done because that's what he so promised, swapping that COLA for inflation, you can't ignore the tornado out to sea. And that tornado out to sea is the recession. And in fact, if you see the correlation of what happened this week and Jay Powell's comments in that luncheon yesterday, he's really changing his tone. He's starting to realize that people don't buy his narrative. What is his narrative not believable at? Number one, that he's getting inflation down to 2% by the end of the year. Jay, it's May. It's almost June, and you haven't got it down below 8%. How are you going to get it from 8% to 2% by December? And Jay Powell's been trying to get this inflation down since January. How much has he moved it? Zero. He hasn't moved it one nick of a point in 6 months. And now he says by the next 6 months, I'm going to get down 6% from where it is right today. No, it's not going to happen. That's number one. That is good news for your SS 300 because that would lock an additional $100 on top of your existing benefits. Then what about right now? Wall Street has embedded in the risk of 1 to 2 more half basis point increases over the next FOMC meetings. And Jay Powell has given guidance that he's not doing 3 quarters. He said that yesterday as well. Again, he's not doing 3 quarters. But Wall Street has not embedded the risk of Jay Powell doing half basis point, not just 2 meetings, but 5 more meetings or 6 more meetings. What is my projections across the board? My projections across the board is that whatever Jay Powell does between now and next month ain't going to work. And that's why Joe Biden needs to make that swap from coal to inflation. Make that swap from coal to inflation today because that would lock in your $200 more per month. How does this work? Let's go over the details of it right now. Your benefits are paid annually based upon a benchmark. Every December, they look at the benchmark and they determine, has the benchmark gone up? Well, then your benefits will go up. The benchmark currently is COLA. It's a horrible benchmark. It's been that way for decades. It generally doesn't move. So while you go to the market and the prices go up, COLA doesn't move and you don't get paid more in benefit checks. That's why it doesn't work. During the pandemic, Liz Warren said that millions of Americans on benefits, including retirees like Social Security and veterans, were not getting a bigger check as things went up in price. That was the start of inflation then. And that's why Joe Biden adopted that as his presidential platform. Swapping COLA for inflation, what does it do? It locks in inflation as your gauge of how much your benefits should go up every year. So if price of goods go up, your benefits go up. If gasoline goes up, your benefits go up. Pretty simple, don't you think? It is pretty simple. But you got cheated because last December they had not made that swap. They had not made that swap in COLA inflation. So they locked in 5% increase for your benefits lifetime when COLA came in at 5% in December 2021. Now, as we look on the horizon, the inflation from December of 8% is still there now in May 2022. So we are good if Joe Biden makes a swap right now. Remember how this works. Once your benefits go up, they never go down. So if there's something that can lift it up, then get it lifted up. Because once it's lifted up, it never gets lifted back down or lower down. I guess just expression you would say. And that is why if you swap that COLA for inflation right today, you lock in 8% inflation, because inflation has not come down yet. And then that'll give you $200 more per month, and not just this month, not just this year, but lifetime. That's how it works. Then what about in December? Well, I'm just saying, J. Powell, I don't buy you. I don't buy that you're getting inflation down to 2%. I don't think anyone thinks you're going to get it down to 2% in December. I think it's going to be 4%. 4% is another $100. That's SS300. And that is the great news across the board on that front. But the better great news is that we have found one another. If you're new to this channel, let me tell you what this channel does. This channel delivers you the breaking financial news, gives you the breaking financial prognosis and predictions of where this economy is going, where your money is going, whether it is gasoline, stocks, bonds, or crypto, and also shows you how to grab hordes of cash. I've gotten people over $35 million on this channel, and in the last few weeks, I've gotten millions more. What is it from? A forced stimulus check. A forced stimulus check has landed in every U.S. bank, in every U.S. state weeks ago. Not days ago. I almost said days ago. Weeks ago. And those checks will run out. Now, what's important to know is that you're not going to see this on broadcast news. You're not going to see this in print media. They're not going to cover it because they don't cover these things. They cover stocks crashing. They talk about Elon buying Twitter. They talk about a little bit of the Federal Reserve, and then they'll talk about things like tech stocks going down. That's what they talk about. I'm here to talk about your money, and they're not going to talk about it anytime ever. They didn't do it during the pandemic. They ain't going to do it now. And that's why you're only going to see this information here. A forced stimulus check is now in every U.S. state. This ability to file the forced stimulus check to go over the details for you is the result of my research. I take an enormous amount of time in researching details for you, so that you have this information before you. People always ask, why here? Why LALATE? Why you? Because no one out there does the research I do. You see a camera on me, on my face. I wish sometimes that there's a cooking channel where the camera's above you and looking down the table with the mixing of the ingredients. Because on this table in front of me is massive stacks of my notes for all these different stimulus items. That is the result of hours of research daily preparing you for these items. Why do you need membership? Because I organize it very simply, reducing it to a way in which, okay, I've done the research, here are the checks, go get them. If you want to get big sums of money, if you make less than $75,000 single individual, if you make less than $150,000 married couple, and if you are in the United States, then get ready. Because here's your money. It's a forced stimulus check that is in every U.S. state, and this is what we learned over 2 weeks ago on what I called affectionately LALATE 101. The forced stimulus check is in every U.S. state, and after the commercial break, we're going to go over that forced stimulus check in every U.S. state. If you're in the live chat right now, I will regraduate you from LALATE 101 if you write those expressions you see on the camera. A forced stimulus check is in every U.S. state. Then, jump in the live chat as well and write the 3 checks that are in every U.S. state. What are those checks? They're a numbering system I've given them. You're not going to see this numbering system anywhere else. It's unique to this channel. What are the 3 letters that denounce the 3 checks in every U.S. state? Write in the live chat. And then after the commercial break, I'll go over those forced stimulus checks and how you apply for them. And get ready to tell me which checks you applied for. Then we'll be going over a recap of what happened this week and a preview of what's happening next week. Very troubling financial times. And the financial situation is going to get worse. Why? That's why you want to stay with this channel. because I'm preparing you for this. In fact, I've been preparing for you for this since October of last year. I'll tell you why as we come back in the second half. But first, during the commercial break, make sure you become a member. The link is at the top of the chat and in the description to get that incredible newsletter Monday through Friday that gives you the links that goes right in to apply for that forced stimulus check. From the shores of Santa Monica, California, we're just getting started. I'll see you back in just 60 seconds as a big, bold, beautiful day of Afternoons LA continues. It's a big weekend ahead of us and a big month still upon us. We're going to get every check that's available for you, and we're going to get all those incredible checks after the commercial break. See you back in 60 seconds as Afternoons LA continues.
If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then Afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE.
And the excitement continues right now on a Friday the 13th. March 13th, May 13th. It's a beautiful day here along the coast of Santa Monica, California. Hope you're having a beautiful day. It's going to heat up here, and hopefully we have our sunscreen ready because stimulus is going to heat up as well. A forced stimulus check is in every U.S. state across the board. And in the second half of this video, we're going to go over that forced stimulus check. Hopefully you became a member during that commercial break. Then you're going to get that newsletter tonight, Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That gives you the link to go right in to get those forced stimulus checks across the board. Before we go into the forced stimulus checks, let's do a reality check and a recap to how we got here. In March of 2020, the first stimulus package started rolling out in the U.S. economy, and that had a lot of instruments in there. You may have found this channel maybe in the summer of 2021, maybe in April 2021, looking for stimulus. But let's understand, in first stimulus, there was the EIDL grant, the PPP, the PUA, and a lot of items that you had to do something to get. And when you did, you got big paydays. When the actual first stimulus check was rolled out, it was not a massive payday. It was $1,200. The second, not much in either. The third, not that much either. Today, the forced stimulus check in every U.S. state is a massive, humongous, enormous payday. Why? Because it's different than second and third, but it's very much like the first stimulus check. The first stimulus check, people who applied for EIDL, PPP, PUA, they got big paydays. They got $15,000, $150,000, $60,000, $80,000. They got massive paydays. They didn't get the $600 stuff or this $1,200 stuff. They got big paydays. So that's number one. Number two, I don't want you to use any reference point of last year or the year before as the guidance for how things are doing now. Why? It's a different year. It's a different way that things are being done. And this is not coming from Congress. It's coming from the President of the United States. When you clear your mind and understand this is big money, massive money, and it's not done the way we've done it before, then you will be ready to pounce and get the incredible sums of money. Finally, I want you to understand that if you're single, make less than $75,000, married, make $150,000 less, rent or own, I got money for you, and it's starting right now. A forced stimulus check into every U.S. state. If you're in the commercial break and said during the commercial break that the 3 checks in every U.S. state are check A, B, and C, you got it right. The 4 stimulus checks that are in every U.S. state are check A, check B, and check C. Where are they? They're in the membership newsletter, but I'm going to go over them for you in preview right now. First, how do you get check A? Check A is a $6,500 to $12,000 forced stimulus check. Did you hear me right? Yeah. $6,500 to $12,000. That's a lot of money, folks. You cannot leave this money on the table. It is an astronomical amount of money. It is available for people on that same income qualification I just went over. And then everyone else, you can get it as well. Like veterans, like Social Security, like SSI. It's called the Homeowners Weatherizing Grant Check. How do you get it? You go right into that membership newsletter. You go right down to check A in that membership newsletter. Then at check A, it describes it more in detail for you and then gives you the link. Why a link? Because you apply online. You apply online, it sends you into the website to apply. You ain't calling the phone. You ain't picking up the phone. You ain't asking the neighbor. You ain't going to the newspaper. You ain't turning on the TV set. You are going to a website and applying. Do not play games with us, because every time you play games, the people get in front of you and you're further back to getting processed. Once you get that application on file, whoa, you're done. So you go right into the membership newsletter, you go down to check A, it has a link. You go into the nationwide website, then choose your state. Then choose the weatherizing grant check, and you're done. How simple is that? Let's go now into check B. Same simple notion. It's a $15,000 to $80,000 stimulus check. Do you see that graphic there, folks? Look at that enormous sums of money. $15,000 to $80,000. Your eyes should be popping out. Look how enormous that amount of money is. It's bigger than most PUAs, FPUCs, EIDLs, EIDL grants. It's bigger than any stimulus check we've ever seen before. Look at that enormous sum of money. You should be ecstatic that I have found this check for you. You should be ecstatic that that check is available for you. You should not be waiting a minute to get that check, because it's astronomical. It is the Homeowners Grant Check, and it is live in every U.S. state. You want to go into the membership newsletter, go down to check B, then it gives you the link. You go into the nationwide website, and then you choose your state and you apply. You're done. That is check A, and that is check B. Let's now go into check C. Check C is for my renters. It's also for my homeowners. For check C, you're going to do the same thing. What is check C? How much money is it? Check C averages different amounts for different people, but it's generally, currently, about $2,000 a month for 12 months. Over at least 12 months on average for viewers of this channel, but many have gotten over 45,000. Many have gotten 150,000. It is the remnants of third stimulus. That's why the graphic says third stimulus, but I'm recording under fourth stimulus to make it easier for you. How do you get this check? You go into the membership newsletter, then go down to check C. It tells you who to call. Yes, on check C, you're calling. You're picking up the phone. On check C, you're calling. Then it tells you what to say, how to say it, where to say it, and how many phone calls to make. You're going to make about 15 phone calls, and you're going to say very specific things. And that is your forced stimulus checks in every U.S. state. Check A, check B, and check C across the board. Now let's recap what we have so far. First, you want to go to the top of this channel, subscribe. Then you want to hit that membership link, become a member. Second, also you want to stay a member, because checks are being added every 10 seconds. Well, metaphorically, they're being added all the time. So you don't want to miss when a new check is added. Number 3, then you get that incredible newsletter. It's delivered Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time via the YouTube alert system. Go into that membership newsletter, go down to check A, apply, check B, apply, check C, apply. What about check D? Check D is a little bit different. Check D is a check that is the residue of money given to the states from third stimulus that have leftover money, and now they got to use it or lose it. And those states are numbering about 24. I believe it's going to go to about 40 that are going to give a check out to people in their states. Now, you don't pass up check A, B, or C to wait around for check D for multiple reasons. One, check D is going to be in the hundreds of dollars. Check A, B, and C are going to be in the thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. Let's say this again. Do you want $80,000 or do you want $200? I don't even think I have to ask that question. But let's make that very clear. Do you want $80,000 or you want $200? I think you want $80,000. And that is why I went to focus you on A, B, and C. It's not to say you shouldn't ignore check D, but you're not going to sit around waiting for check D. How do you learn about check D? It is also in the membership newsletter. Go down that membership newsletter and it'll detail your respective state, possibly if it's one of the 24, and you go right in there and there it is. You learn about it across the board. Now, what is so important for you to understand where we are today? What is important for you to understand is that you are in a unique, great group of people who are informed, ahead of the game, and getting money. Everyone else, we don't care about. There's only a finite amount of money from this A, B, and C checks. The money is going to run out. So for every person who's spending their time on their cell phone, using search engines, not using me, to learn about where money is, they ain't going to find it. And if they don't find it and then don't listen to here or don't become a member, we don't care. Because guess what? More money for us. Those people will run their narrative that there isn't or there is, or they don't know where it is or what it is. The bottom line is you want to cash every check that's available across the board. It's important for you to understand how we get to these spots. How do we get to where we are today? And what's important to understand is that I've been down this road with you. I went over Build Back Better Act. I went over the negotiations. I went over the 3 classes and 3 add-ons. And I knew you need checks. I've done this before. I did this in December 2020. The thick of the pandemic, there was no second stimulus. We were waiting for Steve Mnuchin and Nancy Pelosi to wrap it up, and they weren't. And I knew you needed money. So I went out and found it. This time, it was actually much easier. Why? Because the president was having press conferences about the checks he was sending out. He had a press conference about check A. He had a press conference about check B. And check C I had been covering since last year. I was just surprised that check C still has funds out there. So out of nowhere, check D started popping up in the news as well. But sporadically, very, very infrequently. What's important for you to know is that, again, you ain't going to hear this anywhere else. You ain't going to be searching around or calling up or asking the barber or asking the baker about this because they're not going to know about it. It's not in print media. It's not in broadcast media. They don't cover it. They'll cover Elon Musk buying Tesla, and they'll cover Ford and Disney with Florida and that type of news. They're not going to cover this. It's not in their landscape. It's just not what they do. It's what I do. It's what you do. And tonight on Eames LA, I'll do a lot more of it. So join me then. It's going to be a big broadcast. A 1-hour special report starting at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. It's been a week like we've never seen before. The Consumer Price Index, the PPI, both came in this week hot. I started this week by telling you the numbers are going to come in hot. I told you starting this week that inflation's still here at about 8%. It was. And I also told you that we're going to hear a lot more talk and no walk from Jay Powell. We ended the week with all those 3 events happening. And while the Dow, NASDAQ are ending again another consecutive week down in bear market territory and crypto really being washed left and right, what does this mean for you? It means there's a lot of new shows coming to this channel. So watch and make sure you subscribe because those new shows that come to this channel, it's all about your money and you're going to love them and I'm going to love making the recordings for you. For now, get these incredible checks. Go to the top of the chat and become a member. Get that incredible newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Remember all the steps you need to do. Step 1, subscribe. Step 2, become a member. Step 3, go to that bell on the front of this channel and make sure you set that bell to notifications for all. Then, know what time zone you're in. Are you West Coast? Are you East Coast? The newsletter is delivered on the West Coast time zone, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Monday through Friday. So if you're East Coast Standard Time, watch for it at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. If you're Central Standard Time, look for it at 9 o'clock. Then go into your alerts, however you receive them. Maybe you receive them by email. Watch for the alert that comes in that says new LA post at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And in there, you'll see the one that says newsletter. Click it, and it'll send you into the YouTube post written by me. Every post is written by me, handwritten by me, written and edited by me by the hour, by the day, based upon hours of research to get you these incredible checks. You ain't going to see the breadth of this reporting, the breadth of this coverage, or the breadth of this analysis anywhere in the United States, except one other place. Tonight at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time on Evenings LA. And with that, have a beautiful day, have a beautiful weekend. Don't get scared if Freddy Cougar comes up to you wearing that ski mask, or Mitch McConnell walks up to you. Don't get scared if you walk into a San Francisco hairstylist by mistake and see your Speaker of the House in the chair. Don't get scared if you see someone walking in wearing lobster shorts and you realize it's Joe Manchin. Don't get scared if Kristen Sinema is running past you and she trips into AOC. Don't get scared. Don't get scared if the Temple of Doom 2020 runs into the Temple of Doom 2022. Nancy running into Jay Bowell. And don't get scared if someone tells you a recession is not coming, because it is. You're not going to be scared about the recession for next year, because I've been telling you that for several months. And tonight I'll be going over more about that in detail on Evenings LA. From the shores of Santa Monica, California, this is Afternoons. Join me daily at this time for continuing coverage.